So I bought the Mild2Wild exhaust control for my Camaro, 2015 Camaro, and comes in a little bag, a little Ziploc plastic bag. Comes with 2 remotes and this module and some instructions. The instructions are primarily for the C6 Corvette. However, there are instructions for the ZL1 Camaro, and you have to modify this module a little bit. You got to modify the fuse connector area in order to work on the ZL1. The thing is, I don't have a ZL1. I have a 2015 1LT. However, I have the same exhaust as the ZL1 would have, so I feel fairly confident that I'll be able to make this work. Apparently, what needs to be done is I need to take this shrink wrap, which is this red, it's probably better on the back of a piece of paper here. This red shrink wrap right here, I need to take that off. There's a fuse, you can kind of see the outline here, already sitting there, and then I disconnect this white wire. I don't exactly understand the electronics behind that. So I took the red shrink wrap off. That was really easy, just took some scissors, kind of chopped down it, was careful not to cut any wires. You can see there's well, you probably can't see on the camera, but there's another slot for a fuse where this white wire is going in. So I'm just going to remove that white wire as the instructions say. This is a 10 amp fuse here. I believe my radio fuse is a 20 amp fuse that will be going in there. And just to explain a little bit, so there's some black wires coming off with a round grommet on the end. That's to go to the ground. I'm going to loosen a bolt up, put this on the bolt. This blue wire here, this is the antenna, so I want to make sure I get that in a, spread out as much as possible to get the best distance out of the remote. And then this I'm going to hook up into the fuse, and it should be good to go. Real quick, I want to explain 2 things. So first of all, in preparation for purchasing the Mild2Wild switch, decided it would be a good idea to pull the fuse ahead of time to figure out if I really wanted to have this option. It took me a day to figure out, yes, I wanted to be able to have this option. I kept it like that for about a week. I also realized I want to be able to close it and have it run normal more often than I thought I would. So I put the fuse back in. That being said, once I get into the trunk here, you'll see I need to pull the carpet off. I need to open up the area in order to be able to get to the fuse box. I've already done that. I've already made that easier. I'll explain kind of what I did, but that's why I know what I'm doing, because I've already done it, because I thought I better experiment with this before I go make this purchase. Here is the trunk of the Camaro. So there's a couple things. You'll see here there are screws that need to be, they're for holding the cargo net in, but they're also screws or bolts, whatever you want to call them, and they need to come out. There is also going to be a fastener up here and a fastener below underneath this bottom carpet that both need to come out. Again, as I already mentioned, I have already pulled my fasteners out, so you won't see me doing that, but I just want to make you aware those are things that need to happen. On the fasteners, it's probably going to be best for you to pull out pliers to get those out the cleanest, easiest way. One thing I do want to mention also, the way that this plastic piece here attaches back in is it needs to lift up and then out. So when you're putting it back in, you're going to have it go in up and then put it down. And after, when you're going back in, you're going to want to reseal your trunk sealer here. This rubbery piece on top of the plastic, you're going to want to reseal that and just use your fingers to pull it back across after you put it back in. Because like I said, when you put it back in, it's going to come from the top, slide down, and then go back. This is the fuse box. It's got, you could actually read on here, exhaust flap. That's the one where I'm going to put the white wire, and the 20 amp is this one right here, and that's the other one. That's the one I'm actually going to plug the fuse adapter into. Okay, so here's the shot of what it looks like with that off. This is the exhaust, the 10 amp. This, according to the fuse cover, I misspoke earlier. I'm going to go after this 20 amp. I apologize. I'm going to go after this 20 amp, which is the radio amp, or the radio fuse. Take care of the ground here first. This ratchet I'm using, it's a 10 millimeter that I found to fit the best. I mean, that ground was a little more difficult than it may look, just because you gotta kind of do it upside down while you are working in here. So I'm going to go back to my diagram on the fuse box, and I know that this spot next to the number 5 is the bottom. It's the bottom of the exhaust fuse. So my white wire goes in there. Make sure it's nice and secure. And then the radio is this top one. So that is where my fuse adapter is going to go. There we go, nice and snug. So now it should be good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close this up. I'm going to get the fuse box on there. I'm going to put the carpet back. I'm going to make sure everything is working good. One last modification before the exhaust clips. The fuse box cover. It did mention in my instructions that I'll need to make a slightly larger area for the wires to come out of the fuse box cover. I did that, and I still couldn't make it fit, and that's because I did that on the top of the fuse box. Did that up here, thinking it would be an easy idea just to run the wires up. Now most of the wires are at the bottom, towards the bottom of the fuse box, and that's why I couldn't make it work, because there's a large a large fuse inside the fuse box right here that makes it impossible for the wires to run up. So I'm going to redo that on the bottom here. Just again, all I'm doing is making a bigger area for the wires to come out, because the wires are too thick to fit out of the box otherwise. And all I'm doing for that, I'm just taking my Dremel, I'm just chopping off some of that plastic that's already there. It's already a flap. I'm just making it a little wider. And then, as soon as I finish this and get that all cleaned up, it'll be time for the exhaust clips. Just want to show you guys my radio still works. No problem. And everything seems to be working just fine. In fact, it works great. Now, I don't know how well you can hear it here in the cabin, so I'll show you once in the cabin, then I'll put the camera out back and I'll show you. But normally, revving in that between the 1,000 and 3,000 range, you get that sound right there. That's the with both my flaps closed. Now I'm just going to hit this button, turn it off, and I'm going to do it again. Obviously, at least I can tell from here. I don't know how well that's going to show on the camera, but you can really tell a difference in those low RPM ranges.